I would like to encourage everyone both to think about the quality of growth as well as the quality of corruption. So I think one of the big problems with our discourse and understanding of development is that we neither qualify growth nor do we qualify corruption. We just make these sweeping correlational statements like either corruption is good for growth, either it's bad for growth. And what we can learn from the rich historical experiences in China and the United States is that, first of all, we need to understand that there are different types of growth. And the moment we look at China and the US, these being superpowers, the kind of messages that we hear about China is, of course, kind of stupendous, right? Spectacular GDP growth. And it is. But we need to understand that beneath that a headline, a spectacular GDP growth, is the fact that China's growth has come with tremendous inequality. By 2012, when President Xi Jinping took over as the paramount leader, China's income inequality had actually exceeded that of the United States. The inequality in China is not just class-based, it's structural. So you have rural-urban inequality, you also have regional inequality. It is also a country that has tremendous endemic corruption, but of a particular type. And I'm going to elaborate on that later. But basically, the corruption scandals we see in China are not about things like petty bribery, extortion, the kind of problems that one might encounter, say, in the streets of Lagos when I visited a few years ago. The kind of corruption in China is what I call excess money, elite exchanges of power and wealth. It is also a country that is plagued with financial risk. So if you read the newspapers today, you read about the real estate meltdown. You read about local governments having too much debt, right? And then when you look at US history, you'll find that, none of these problems are actually new in China. If you just turn the page back 100 years before, the US Gilded Age, and the reason why it's called gilded rather than golden is because it had growth, transformation, along with corruption, inequality, and financial bubbles. So when we contextualize the nature of growth in these two superpowers, I think it helps us as audiences in Africa, in the global South, to not become infatuated with quote unquote success. Yes, the growth itself is a success. And as someone who grew up in Singapore and had experienced growth, I know the value of growth, right? But we also must not become infatuated with wealth and power. We need to be clear-eyed and understand that that outcome is actually mixed. So having that understanding will allow us then to understand the history of evolution of these two superpowers.